Warrior. I was at a terrific conference today here in New York City, put on by National Organization of Women, Women's Justice, and also New York Press Club Foundation. And it was about how we as journalists talk to human trafficking survivors, victims of domestic violence, how a reporter should be asking questions, seeking answers, the whole kind of realm around all of this. And it really got me thinking because with the work we do at the Warriors, we work with a lot of survivors, right? And first, let's get this out of the way. Domestic violence and human trafficking, they intersect. Most victims of trafficking are also victims of domestic violence. But it was at Fordham Law School, right in my hood, and I thought, let me go, let me see women I know and I work with, let me hear what they have to say, and I always gain knowledge from any of these events I attend. I will say our dear colleague Jane Bigelson from Women's Justice, she kind of hosted this and she did a terrific job. She's also part of our New Yorkers for the Equality Model, and all of the coalitions we work on here in New York. She worked a long time at Covenant House. So she knows her stuff, right? What I took away and why I hesitated for a minute is because on the first panel, we had, I'm not going to use names. So we had a Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell victim survivor. Now, I never just say Epstein. I always say Epstein Maxwell because for me, I lump them together. They are both complicit in all of these crimes. And as I'm listening to this and how to treat a survivor, how to handle a survivor, I understand why. It was a room full of a lot of people from the press, women in particular. There were a couple of men in the room, but women in particular, hosted by a Wall Street Journal female writer, the panel I was listening to, but also because, and I've noticed this over the years, these victims, especially, let's think about Epstein right now. They're asked to give, interviews and statements and be part of activities. Yet we don't think about it. It is them reliving their story. That's their story, and re-traumatizing them over and over and over again. They, of course, want to get the word out there and keep talking about it to keep it in the headlines. And that's when it rang a bell with me that, let me just stick with one thing. So journalists don't really know, they may be on a deadline, they don't really understand what trafficking, victimization, any of that stuff is. So they're not understanding the emotions that go with it. But we have to look at all of this since Epstein, Swalwell, all these people have been in the media, okay? And just everyday stories. I don't know about you, but it's popping up. It's the coach. It's a trusted from a church or a synagogue. It is, the babysitter. It is the daycare. It is the dance teacher. In other words, everyday people are involved in this grooming or going after kids, all this stuff, right? And granted, yes, we have the internet, so we're hearing and even seeing more about all of this, but still I feel like it's becoming normalized and society is becoming numb, like we're habituated to it, in one ear out the other. But I'm thinking about this Epstein survivor, a woman who said, I'm now in my 50s. I didn't even realize what happened to me as a teen and young woman, because she was involved for many years. She didn't know what she went through, this whole situation, was even trafficking or a crime. Now think about that for a minute. Most victims of sex trafficking, we know, didn't know they were sex trafficked. It may sound wacky, but you don't realize it when you're in it. You don't know exactly what it is. Same goes for domestic violence. You're so psychologically conditioned, groomed, that you think this is normal, or you're just trying to survive every single day and get through it. So as she was talking, I was thinking about a couple of headlines I saw over the last few days, talking about, will Ghislaine Maxwell be pardoned? And then an article yesterday, so that was a couple of days ago. Then I saw I call them drips. And the drip yesterday was something like, GOP split. Half wants Ghislaine Maxwell pardoned, the other half doesn't. The half that wants her pardoned Well, to me, they don't understand the whole situation. Perhaps they're complicit. They don't want their friends hurt, whatever that story is, okay? The ones that, do want her, I'm going to say that's not pardoned. I made a mistake there. My head is spinning. The ones that want her pardoned, their excuse, and I call it a lame excuse because this woman was so criminally responsible. I mean, my goodness. A felony, sex trafficking. Leave that for a minute, though. They want her pardoned, half the GOP, because they believe she has information that she can share that'll help, call out these files and people and this and that and client list. Okay, everybody, sound the alarm, wake up bell. But I think all these years later, in my opinion, we've been through a debacle with AG Pam Bondi, whether she was the fall guy, fall woman, was taking directives. She's releasing files. She has things on her desk. It's horrifying. We're going to do this. Congress saying you have to put the transparency out there with Epstein Transparency Act, all of this, and we still don't have the bottom. And we're never going to get the bottom to this story. We have rumors of top levels saying we cannot hurt friends, don't talk about it. But here's what we got from all of that. And according to this survivor and others on the panel, if we don't keep in this busy, overwhelming environment we're in, and right now in the United States, there's so much going on. Yes, globally, but around the United States. But if we don't keep the Epstein Ghislaine Maxwell story in the headlines, that's what they're counting on. It'll just go away. So thank goodness these investigative reporters, these journalists. And I was very happy. There were a lot of young journalist students in the audience. It was a full room. I'll put some pictures up later. Done so well. And just a beautiful facility, Fordham Law, right here on the west side, New York City. Handled with care, I want to say, because when you're dealing with victims, survivors, crime, all that, care. Also, the one helming the operation was also Beth Karish. You may be familiar with her from Court TV. She's been in a lot of different legal kind of talking head, as they call them. A lot of ID discovery shows and weighing in on things. And I want to interview her here on The Warriors soon. We talked about that because I want to give voice to women who've also been around, a long time. I've been around a long time, right? My passion now, the work I do now, the work that has to be done, that I wake up, go to bed thinking about nonstop, is giving voice to domestic violence, to human trafficking, to kids, to digital safety, to empowering families. We have to do it because the predators, or those who have power over vulnerability, right? Those who have wealth over vulnerability, or those who don't have money, are counting on us not to keep talking about it so they can get away with everything. So we're going to keep chipping away. Because I was on a bunch of what we call Zoom calls yesterday for my work with the New York Women's Junior League, and we're advocating for a piece of legislation here in New York called Speak Your Truth. And that is that a female victim is allowed to come forward and name her accuser, and have a regular court case and all this. But I'm bottom lining it here. But the thing is that accuser, usually wealth, power over vulnerability, and they sue the victim. And this piece of legislation, you cannot sue the victim. Now, wait a minute, before you start saying false accusations, because we get that pushback a lot, it's approximately about 6% of the cases are false. That means 94 are true. And most women don't report, as you know, women and girls. They're not believed. Law enforcement doesn't know how to handle it correctly. They don't have the money for lawyers that these people of power and wealth have. And that's what they hold. It's not even about money for these people. They just want to harass them with lawsuits so they don't go forward. And in many cases, some of these women have even been held responsible for paying the court costs, the lawyer's fees of their attacker. I'll just say that. We have algorithms here. We can't say certain words. I almost said it, but it starts with an R, but I didn't say it. I think when 94% about 94% of something is an accurate count, like, this is critical mass, right? So all of these issues, and I was thinking, and on each one of my Zooms, and you talk to different senators' offices and Congress members, assembly members, excuse me, here in New York State, confusing my Washington work with my state work. You have 30 minutes to explain issues. You send them materials beforehand. You want them to come on as co-sponsors. That's how it works, right? Power in numbers. And it occurred to me, because most of my colleagues really are in 20s and 30s. And I'm like, as I spoke to each office, this was going on when I was in college, 45 years ago. Embarrassment, not coming forward, thinking it's our fault, or whatever the case may be. When I say our, I don't even mean me. I mean women in particular always think, well, I had one drink, it's my fault, all that stuff. I said, it's still going on. It's time to end it. It's time for this to stop. It's time for true accountability. It's time for, if we have to have a piece of legislation, we have to have a piece of legislation. But nothing's gotten better for girls and women in my time, 45 years. I'm gonna give it that 45-year mark. I could basically say 50. That make me a little bit too young, so I'm gonna say 45. Let's get to it. And that kind of talk is actually appreciated, whether it's on Capitol Hill, it's up in my home state of New York, Albany, the capital. But it got me going. Ghislaine Maxwell, accomplice, obviously, of Jeffrey Epstein. And I don't want to hear she's in prison. You know what? Because she was moved in the cloak of darkness after a meeting with I don't want to get into details here, just because, it may be boring for you and insider kind of talk, but, she's having a meeting one night with an administration official, and in the cloak of darkness, she's moved to this, what I'm hearing is a very nice, they call it Club Fed, but, she's doing the yoga. She's, from accounts I hear, she's leaving twice a week in a black SUV, going for a couple of hours. Where does she go? Does she get her hair done? Does she get mani-pedis? Is she just outside talking to her cohorts? Nobody knows. People are told, they're on lockdown, don't talk to her, don't look at her, don't question her. She was even teaching a class on manners, we hear. So we're not getting any information lately because everybody was told to. So she's being treated, obviously, somehow, very well for what she did to all these girls and young women. And the thought of pardoning her, understand the big picture. Not only is this a slap, because as we speak today in Washington, and because I had the conference, I couldn't be there, right? I just got back from Washington. There was a butterfly release. It is the 1-year anniversary of Virginia Giuffre, right, who called out, who kind of started this whole thing. Even though it started in the 90s, women were trying to report. It was brushed aside, brushed under the rug, whatever you want to call it. They weren't believed. They were told to go away from law enforcement. Fast forward, we had Virginia Giuffre. And Virginia Giuffre came forward about, at the time, Prince Andrew, and got the ball kind of rolling. And then there was an article done by a journalist in Florida, and she got the ball rolling, like the time was right for all of that. But today's the 1-year anniversary of Virginia Giuffre's death. And in Washington, her brother will be there. It's a butterfly release, kind of a vigil. Last night she was projected onto the side of a building. Again, I'm telling you all this is because we have to keep talking about this story. So many are dirty. So many are complicit. We need more of them held accountable, right? It's time, okay? So when people push on me and say, oh, why aren't you talking more about Epstein files released? Because so far these files have really not given us much of anything. And I think anything worthwhile, which to me would be the hardcore evidence of what I always heard about children, CSAM, child sexual abuse material, videos, where is all that? Is it sitting with the DOJ? Is it sitting with Ghislaine Maxwell's family, which is something I heard? Until we have this video proof and things like that, files have been redacted, scrubbed, lost. I heard the last collection of files could not be released because there's so many child things in it. That would be CSAM, and it's illegal to release CSAM. All this crazy stuff. But let's not get sidetracked. Let's stick to Ghislaine Maxwell cannot be pardoned. Not only for all of these women who have bravely come forward, and for all the ones we do not know, and for those that were forced because their names were in the DOJ files. So then DOJ went to them, forced them, their mothers, they have careers perhaps. They wanted to forget about all this, but they had to then kind of come out and talk about this. But for all victims of domestic violence, of sex trafficking, Ghislaine Maxwell cannot be pardoned under any circumstances. I do think there are lots of other ones who should also be in prison, called out, held accountable. She's the only one right now. I don't know what you call Andrew, other than a pig, other than they all knew about him, including the Queen, apparently, and they paid people off. They allowed it to go on. That's disgusting. But nobody else is in prison. And for all victims of abuse, a slap in the face. This is not just about Epstein Maxwell. Yes, it's about them. But it is the reason I hear over and over again when working with victims and survivors, I will not come forward. I'm not believed. Look what happens. They get away with it. They've got the money. They laugh at us. And I used to say it's always vulnerable girls. For the most part, it is, that teenage girl who gets offered $200 cash to come answer a phone. And then when she goes to answer the phone, and this is the case of Ghislaine Maxwell with Virginia Giuffre, yeah, you may answer a phone for one day and get paid $200 cash. And when you're a kid, that's a lot of money, right? And then you come back the second time, and you may be treated the same way. The grooming process, softening them up, acting like that big sister. Maybe the third time you come back. Oh, okay, well, you're wanted in this room. Oh, you want to be a massage therapist? Oh, that's a really great career. You can make a lot of good money and travel the world and meet wealthy people. Okay, let's practice. I think you know where I'm going with this, and that's how it happens. And girls and young women don't even realize it, and you know it and I know it. We're not blaming that usual playbook of blaming the victim. It's blaming those who knew, the Ghislaine Maxwells, the Jeffrey Epsteins, and all of the people involved, right? Names you've seen in the news, in the media, online. A slap. Should she get pardoned? This is all we have right now, her in prison. If she gets pardoned, well, I don't know, you'll see me standing on the steps of the Capitol with protesting this, because we need her to stay in prison for what she did. Where she is right now isn't even near, hardcore enough for what she has done. The fact that she's allowed, supposedly the other day, to put out, appealing again that she wants to be released and pardoned. And then the next day I'm reading, will she not be pardoned? And then the next day seeing GOP, half want her pardoned, half don't want her pardoned. One day it's the president. Well, he might pardon her, he might. Dripping, dripping, dripping. And my fear is she may very well indeed get pardoned. Not now. I'll leave you with this to think about. But perhaps in a little over 2 years. Think about it. Our hashtag at The Warriors is Community Creates Change. Please make sure you're subscribed to our channel. LynnsWarriors.org is the place to be. Sign up for our newsletter. Parents, kids, digital safety. We are on top of so many subjects and topics that you need to know about. But right now, join us in saying Ghislaine Maxwell can never be pardoned. End of story for her. Actually, end of story? I don't think we even touched the tip of the iceberg with the Epstein-Maxwell story. But to be continued. But remember, support survivors, empower victims. This is the last day of National Crime Victims Week, right? Let's talk about them, not the criminals that we keep hearing about all the time, the victims and survivors. And let's all join together because we can and we must do something for them. With that, everybody, I want you to wake up each and every day. I know there's a lot going on. Stay with the program and go out and be the best warrior you can be.